Namaskara. Today we're studying Sutra number 14. What does it say? Saha tu dīrgha kala nairantarya satkara adara asevitaha dṛḍha-bhūmiḥ. Saha, that, tu, but, dīrgha, long, kala, time, nairantarya, without interruption, satkara, reverence, asevitaha, practiced, dṛḍha, firm, bhūmiḥ, ground. If you understand the words, it's pretty self-explanatory, but basically what Maharishi Ved Vyasa says it means is and this is firmly rooted, being well attended to for a long time without interruption and with devotion. So do remember that we have been discussing what is abhyasa in the previous sutra. So once we have understood what is abhyasa, how to practice, he says this is firmly rooted, being well attended to for a long time without interruption and with devotion. So he is reminding us that this is not something that is achieved by one practice, by a limited practice, or all at once. How do we secure steadiness? When operations are, he says, opposed by outgoing habits. Our habits keep interrupting. And these habits have been in existence since eternity. So then how do we obtain steadiness? And he says, this practice reaches the state of firmness, but not at once as being possessed of three qualities: its domain, its appearance of calmness, and if often overpowered by the habits of the outgoing. So if one gives up the practice, if you allow interruptions to come in, you will be overpowered by the passage of time. Hence, what the sutra basically is saying is, do not give up. Swami Satyananda, he says, it becomes firmly grounded by being continued for a long time with reverence and without interruption. So he says there are three conditions for the practice of abhyasa. The first is, it should be practiced with complete faith, it should continue uninterrupted, and it should go on for quite a long time. These three conditions are explained in this sutra. When these three conditions are fulfilled, abhyasa becomes firmly established and a part of one's nature. And Swami Satyananda says many people start yoga very enthusiastically and then they give it up. And he says this should never happen with a student of yoga who wants to achieve the goal in this birth. So nairantarya means practicing without interruption. Antar is difference. Nairantar means absence of the difference. It means continuity. And he says this is important because if practice is interrupted, then the student cannot get the full benefit of the practice, and this needs spiritual maturity. And he says the aspirant shouldn't be impatient. There should be no hurry or haste. It may take many births to attain the highest goal of yoga. What is important is not the length of time, but the intensity and the continuity. One should not lose heart, but practice with faith. So I just wanted to read you a passage from the book, which is so beautifully put. And this is Swami Satyananda's book, 4 chapters on freedom. And he says, the next important point about devotion is that one should like sadhana to the highest extent. Just as a mother becomes disturbed if her child does not return home on time, so the aspirant should become disturbed if he does not do his daily practice. He should love his practice as much as he loves his body. He should be as attracted towards the practices as he is towards a sweet dish of his choice. The practice can produce the desired result only if they are done with love and attraction. There should be no feeling of compulsion, but one should do the practices willingly. This is the meaning of satkara. It means earnestness, respect, and devotion. If one has these qualities, good results are assured. Attachment to the practices can be developed through constant self-analysis and satsang. So, this is the extent to which the practice needs to be sort of embraced. Swami Vivekananda keeps the translation simple. He says its ground becomes firm by long, constant efforts with great love for the end to be attained. Restraint does not come in a day, but by continued practice. BKS Iyengar says, long, interrupted and alert practice is the firm foundation for restraining the fluctuations. When the effort is continued in accordance with yogic principles, consistently and for a long time, with earnestness, attention, application and devotion, the yogic foundation is firmly established. So what does he mean? He says profound wisdom is gained through steady, constant, dedicated practice and non-attachment. However, BKS Iyengar warns that a sadhaka may become inflated. The ego at this point can become inflated by ego. So it's important to not have intellectual pride, and because it's going to drag you away from enlightenment. So if this happens, he says how you correct it is re-establish the practice by taking the guidance of a correct teacher through his own dedication and humility, and then you replace pride and spiritual wisdom dawns. Osho says it becomes firmly grounded when continued for a long time, without interruption and with reverent devotion. And he says, how long, right? The question might be, how long do I have to continue this practice? And Osho says, it will depend on you, on each person. The length of time depends on the intensity, and if the intensity is total, it can happen very soon, and if the intensity is not high, it will take longer. But he says what is important, why does Patanjali say without interruption? Because the mind wants to resist changing an old pattern. Okay, we're struggling to change the habit pattern of the mind. So when you allow a day or two to come in, when you allow laziness or sleep or illness or distraction to come in, and you say not today, not tomorrow, Osho says to the extent that a single day that you do not practice, you have allowed the mind to go back to its old habit pattern. It's bounced back. So you have undone a lot of your practice when you are allowing an interruption to come in. So he says, if you are in practice abhyasa, don't listen to the mind, just go on doing. By and by, this practice will go deep into the mind, and the mind will stop resisting it. So thus for the mind, it will become an easy flow. What you're basically doing is you're taking the old pattern, the old vritti, and you're replacing it with one that is oriented towards sadhana. So you're replacing the vritti of the mind. The day you take an interruption, you make a break, the new vritti has lost and the old vritti has won. It has gained ground. So it says, no, today I'll just sleep. Today I'll just, binge eat. I'll binge watch Netflix, whatever, the things that we do. And the new pattern you're trying to establish has basically lost ground. So your abhyasa is not on firm ground, dṛḍha-bhūmiḥ. Okay. So Barbara Stoller Miller doesn't elaborate too much. She says the practice is firmly grounded when it is performed for a long time without interruption and with zeal. Though I don't think that is the correct translation for, it's not actually zeal, it's devotion. There's this beautiful passage in Osho's book on devotion that I wanted to just share with you. And he says, it is difficult to explain reverent devotion. And he says, with deep devotion, results can follow immediately. In a single moment of devotion, you can undo many lives of the past. In a deep moment of devotion, you can be completely free from the past. But it is difficult to explain what is this devotion. There is friendship, there is love, between all kinds of relationships. But if you are in devotion, sooner or later compassion will start flowing towards you. If you are in devotion, then some higher peak will start flowing towards you. But if you are not in devotion, compassion cannot flow towards you because you are not open to it. All abhyasa, all practice is to become the lowest so that the highest can flow in you. Become the lowest. Become the lowest, become the last. Suddenly when you are the lowest, you are capable of receiving the highest. And only to the lowest depth is the highest attracted, pulled. It becomes the magnet. I thought this was absolutely beautiful. So this was Sutra number 14. I hope you enjoyed it. Please come back tomorrow for Sutra number 15 and keep practicing.